Watson, an associate professor of art history here at the University of Central Florida, and the curator of Illuminating the Darkness, our Carceral Landscape, which is on view through October 1st. Illuminating the Darkness, our Carceral Landscape, was made possible through a grant by the National Endowment for the Arts, as well as the Laughing Bull Foundation, and in association with the Florida Prison Education Project, which brings higher education opportunities to people incarcerated in Florida. The exhibition begins with a video projection by Paul Rucker entitled Proliferation. This video, which is set to music he composed and is playing for the cello, visualizes the proliferation of correctional facilities in the United States after emancipation. And as the video progresses, you can see the country become illuminated by prisons. Part of the goal of the exhibition is to illustrate how prisons have proliferated in the United States, but also to show that the carceral landscape is not something that's over there, away from us, behind bars, but is something that we're all a part of. And it affects our daily lives. This is some sculpture by Javis Quintero. He was incarcerated in Panama for 10 years. He now lives in Switzerland. And then we have some photographs by Keith Calhoun and Chandra McCormick. They've been taking photographs for about 30 years at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, also known as Angola, named after a plantation on which the prison is built. The prison is still a working penitentiary where a lot of the produce that is eaten in the state of Louisiana is grown. And you see in these photographs that Calhoun and McCormick have captured people really in forced labor, growing crops and working in the fields. We also have a portrait named Daddy O, who's one of the oldest living people incarcerated in the state of Louisiana today. In this corner, we have some paintings by contemporary artist Omari Booker, as well as some photographs of the contemporary Black Lives Matter movement. These were taken at a march in New Jersey that occurred right after the murder of George Floyd at the hands of the Minneapolis police. And you can see to the right, Omari's painting, All Lives Matter, ? Showing the notion that, of course, yes, all lives do matter, but in our society, Black lives have not been seen to matter as much as those of white lives. And so all of this work pointing out the systemic racism that marks life in contemporary America. That's really well illustrated also by this painting, also by Booker, called Rebel, where he's taken a portrait of an African-American man and put it over a Confederate flag and ringed his face in red razor wire. The red razor wire represents both the wires that go around the outside of prisons and also redlining, which was a federal housing policy that dispossessed African Americans of their property as part of the New Deal. So it was not really a very good New Deal for African Americans. So this painting is visualizing the progression from slavery to Jim Crow to redlining to mass incarceration that really marks much of the Black experience in the United States, as 40% of those incarcerated are Black, and 1 in 3 Black men can expect to serve time in prison, as opposed to 1 in 17 white men. So we certainly have a problem with racial bias in our criminal justice system and in our policing and our incarceration rates. If we move over to this corner, we have some portraits of some local Orlando community leaders, all of whom were formerly incarcerated. Ruben Saldana in the center has a mixed martial arts camp for at-risk youth to help them to develop community skills, self-defense skills. He's an amazing advocate for young people, as is Marquise, who works with trying to create diversion programs to stem the school to prison pipeline. And Gail Westfall works with the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition that is working to restore the rights with the passage of Amendment 4 for those with felony convictions so that they can now vote in Florida elections. These prints were made by women as part of a reentry program in Pennsylvania. They take their criminal records and shred them and then make homemade paper. And the prints are sold to raise money for mutual aid, reentry, and bail bonds. These are some paintings by outsider artist Purvis Young, who's from Miami and who was also incarcerated and became quite a well-known artist. And in this alcove of the gallery, we have an installation of a piece called Writing on the Walls by Hank Willis Thomas and Bob Streisinger. This is meant to simulate the notion of a prison cell, but with the bars being created by birds and lines of poetry written by people incarcerated. This piece is also enjoying iterations right now across the country as both projections and wheat pastes. So you might look for it near you for Writing on the Wall. We also have here some pieces made by our incarcerated students. It's part of the Florida Prison Education Project. Over the last year, we brought many of the artists in this exhibition to the prison with us to help teach an art class. And our students created this work, which is on exhibit. In the space where we taught the class, there was actually a mural painted by Al Black, who's shown here, his work in some paintings. Al Black was a Florida highwayman artist who was also incarcerated at the prison where we teach our classes, and there are murals made by him throughout the prison. So we borrowed these paintings from the permanent collection of the Orlando Museum of Art. I hope you'll be able to come and see the exhibit in person, but if you're not able to, we have an extensive online version, and I hope you've enjoyed this video walkthrough today to give you a sense of the pieces that we have on display. You can also pick up a copy of the catalog, or there's a digital version online, and there's a list of resources if you want to get involved in criminal justice reform in your community. Thank you.